The sun is shining, and here at Oswego Speedway, the men and the women of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour are set to do battle. There was just a little bit of a delay earlier when Mother Nature blessed us with some heavy rain. The rains are gone, the track conditions are ideal, and we've already seen some impressive times. Hello everyone, I'm Ben Dodge, and alongside is a veteran driver here, a veteran, not a driver, well, he is a veteran announcer, my good buddy Joe Murata, who's here. He is the resident expert from the Oswego Speedway, and Joe, we saw in in the time trials earlier today, Matt Hirschman set a blistering pace of 17.551.
But it's really quick.
And it was no surprise that Patrick Emmerling, hot after his success at the Thompson Speedway, would be second fastest with a time of 17.666. The car that was early up front in times managed to hold on to third.
And, of course, that was Craig Luth in the number 46 car, and he did turn the third quickest time with a 17.701.
And, of course, in the fourth fastest slot, it was Justin Bonsignor, and a time of 17.735. Now, remember, there's only 4 points that separates first and second. And, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking now at the first car coming out. She is the first lady of modified racing, the Pine Knolls Auto Sales Machine. From Wakefield, New Hampshire, car number 01 for Melissa Byfield. Melissa, a regular on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, looks racy, has been very consistent and very smooth. She works her magic, comes back off turn number 4 into the record books for lap number 1. And the time will be 21.794. 21.794. Far from the fastest lap of 17.551. Joe, what do you think for lap 2?
Well, she picks it up a little bit going down the back straightaway, entering turn number 3. Backs out of it a little bit down between 3 and 4, and brings it off a little bit quicker with a 20.550.
20.550, and the next car that'll be heading out on the racetrack will, of course, as we go to what's out there now, and it is car number 10. This is the number 10 machine in the competition. No surprises here, and that, of course, is Bob Reese, the Reese Racing Enterprises machine, making its debut here on the Whelen Modified Tour. Car number 10, first lap, 19.154. Reese looks to string it out deep into turn number 3. Dive bombs to the bottom of the racetrack. That's the quickest way around. Lap number 2 goes into the record books, and the second lap is quicker.
Much quicker.
18.934. 18.934.
Jacob Lutz in the number 14 next out onto the speedway, and he really picks it up coming off of turn number 2 and hauls down that back straightaway down into turn number 3. In the short shoot, this is going to be a quick, well, he got a little pushy going up in between 3 and 4. We're going to have to watch him coming down. Jacob Lutz goes fast with an 18.185.
So looks to pick it up just a bit. He moves to the top of the charts. Will it stay there? That could be doubtful. Next car scheduled to come out onto the racetrack is one of the veterans. This gentleman had over 100 career starts. But before we go there, let's look at lap number 2.
18.077. So he is the quick time right now. Out here in car number 18.
That's the Bowie One Seafood and Restaurant car. As we said, over 100 career starts on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Ken Heggie, very smooth, very consistent, one of the fine independent runners. First lap on the clock.
Goes up to the number 3 spot and goes a 19.172 on his first lap. He had a heck of a push going into turn number 4. We're going to have to see if he can smooth it out a little bit as he enters turn number 4 this time. Looks a lot better.
And it is. He moves into second, 18.705. 18.705. Next gentleman on the racetrack is a gentleman who is one of the favorites here. From Tonawanda, New York, it is car number 00 for Andy Jankowiak. Jankowiak driving the Spavco chassis BMP machine. This guy is the modern-day version of Richie Evans. He competes just about everywhere, and he moves into second, 18.487. Jacob Lutz still sitting atop the board. Looks good, coming off the turn. He'll come back to the stripe. Will lap number 2 move him to the top of the class. Andy Jankowiak will move. Nope, he stays in the second, 18.264.
And I love the color of that car. You can spot it all the way around the speedway. Tim Connolly is now out there in car number 4. He is the 6th car to take time here on the fastest Oswego Speedway oval. And he is real quick going down into turn number 3 in the short chute. He picks it up a little bit. I'll bet you he is going to be up on top. No, he's only 3rd quick right now with an 18.623. Tim Connolly, car number 4. Working down into turn number 3. They lose a lot of time down in between that number 3 and 4 corner. And Tim right there in the number 3 spot, 18.295.
Well, the next individual coming out is no stranger to running strong. The Supreme Racing Machine. That is Andrew Kraus. Supreme Manufacturing among the sponsors of the car. This is the 7th car of 20 to go out and take time. Kraus, family. They run Wall Stadium. Andrew Kraus moves into the 4th spot. 18.644. Kraus looks pretty good. Dives down low, puts the left front low, car drifts up half a lane. And Kraus,
he remains right there.
They're the same. Second laps are not any quicker than the first for some, 18.375.
Look at the cat now out there in car number 82. He goes down to turn number 1, maybe a little bit quicker than anybody else did so far. Works down now into turn number 3. He has got a good run going right now. Working out at turn number 4. Woody brings it down here to front straightaway. Woody brings it up to the number 4 spot. 18.312. Good exit off at turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Staying real low going down into the tricky number 3 corner. Coming out at turn number 4, a little bit wide coming out. Let's see what happens. And he brings it up to the number 3 spot with an 18.26. Stand corrected. Number 1 spot, 17.993, the fastest car so far.
Next on the speedway is the car that carries the Musco Lighting Northeast Drilling logo. It is car number 32 for Tyler Ripkema. Ripkema's been a very strong competitor, been just shy of visiting victory lane. Car number 32, little different line, heads down into turn number 1. Ripkema right there as a factor. As they work their magic, he moves in to the 3rd position, 18.242. Will he be able to pick it up, move closer? First car in the 17s is Woody Pitcat. Here comes Tyler, car 32. He does. 17.967. 17.967.
And he is number 1 now. Tommy Catalano, car number 54. I've seen this guy race at Spencer Speedway, Lancaster Speedway, and right here at the Oswego Speedway. And this kid is quick all the time. Tommy bringing it out at turn number 4 for the first lap. And he goes up to the number 4 spot with an 18.195. Now he's got some heat in those Hoosier tires. He should be a little bit quicker as he sizzles off the number 2 corner. Gordon's going down the back straightaway, keeping it down on the bottom, letting it drift up a little bit. Coming out of turn number 4. And he is up on top of the heat with a 17.932. Fastest car so far.
Let's see if we get some family rivalry going on here. JJVC prepares the automobile for Catalano Motorsports. It's Tyler Catalano with car number 84. Tyler considered a rookie, but not by his performances on the racetrack itself. He looks racy. Different line again, trying to move his brother off the number 1 spot. Moves into the 8th position, 18.411. 18.411. Dives down into turn number 3. Bottom of the racetrack, drifts up just a bit, stands on the throttle and brings it back off turn number 4. Tyler Catalano moves into the 4th spot with a time of 18.059. 18.059.
Good run for him. Trevor Catalano now out there right now. The Catalanos are out there racing. This one aboard car number 56. He comes off of turn number 2, almost in the same track as his brother did, and now he works down into turn number 3, coming out of turn number 4. Here is trouble coming down the front straightaway, and he stops the clock with an 18.117, sixth quickest time right now. Trevor halfway down the back straightaway, down in that tricky number 3 corner. Staying a little bit lower this time in turn number 3. Now coming out in turn number 4. We're going to have to watch him coming out there. He is number 1. 17.902. Good run for Trevor.
Next on the speedway, driver's change in this automobile. He's one of the best in open wheel racing. He'll run the Bowler Racing Enterprises number 3. From Franklin, Massachusetts, it is Bobby Santos. Greg Fournier is the crew chief on the automobile. Santos has had success at this racetrack. Getting adjusted, 4th fastest first lap, 18.016. Lap number 2, working his magic back to the stripe. He'll come across the line. Santos moves to the top of the charts. 17.838, 17.838.
And he is the quickest. Ronnie Silk is out there right now. Ronnie aboard his number 16 car. He goes a little bit high in turn number 1 and comes diving off in turn number 2. Brings it down that back straightaway into turn number 3. Boy, he is really into the throttle in between the turns. Bringing it down here in the front straightaway, and he stops the clock to the number 8 spot right now with an 18.086. 18.086. That is 8th quickest time right now. So now he is down into turn number 3. Working hard in between the corners. Drifts up a little bit. Coming off in turn number 4. And he is up to the number 2 spot. Ronnie with a 17.890.
Next on the racetrack, the big winner at Lancaster, the G&G Electrical Supply, Bell's Electric Machine. Ron Newhouse and Sly Zabins are the crew chief of the KLL MAM Motorsports car. Car number 64 for Austin Beers. Beers, the 15th car. Fastest time to beat is Bobby Santos, 17.838. Beers' first lap, good enough for 11, 18.295. Santos is your fast time. Silk is second. Trevor Catalano and Tommy Catalano with Tyler Ripkema round out the top 5 currently. Austin Beers does it, 17.820. Austin Beers moves to the top of the charts.
Kyle Bonsignor in the number 22, the double deuce. Or in the middle lane coming out of turn number 2. Moves it down the back straightaway down into turn number 3. Way down on the bottom part of the speedway. Now drifting up coming out of turn number 4. Let's see what Kyle does. Kyle moves into the number 6 spot with an 18.140.1. Taking a different line now down in between turns number 1 and 2. Staying right in that middle lane, staying up there on the high side. Coming down low in between turns 3 and 4 again. Bringing it down here in the front straightaway. And number 1, 17.807. 17.807 for Kyle aboard the 22 car.
Here's the guy to watch, the current point leader by 4 points. It is the Phoenix Communication Ryan Stone prepared car for Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor in the Ken Massa Motorsports machine. Quickest car in practice at 1 point. First time out, 17.977. 8th fastest, not what they were looking for. Looks to pick it up. Changes his strategy. Wheel to the inside, drifts up half a lane, brings it back down. Loose is fast, and it is. It's 17.800. 17.800.
7 thousandths of a second difference between Kyle. Craig Lutz is out there right now in car number 46. Craig rumbles down off of turn number 2. Good straightaway speed going down that back straightaway, down into turn number 3. He is staying up a little bit higher between turns number 3 and 4. Craig brings it down and goes to the number 7 spot with a 17.918 on his first lap. Craig staying off of turn number 2 on his second lap. Moving down into turn number 3, down in between the corners. Staying up a little bit higher this time. Bringing it down here in the front straightaway. And he goes to number 1 with a 17.679. Wow.
Two of the fastest cars in the house are left, and this is one of them coming after a victory at Thompson Speedway, driving the Dale Holquist prepared car, the Fleetworks machine for Patrick Emmerling. Emmerling, car number 1, looks racy, looks to move to the top of the charts. Lap number 1, 8th fastest, pretty much the same as everybody that's been in the top, 17.931. It looks to pick it up second time. Smooth line, very similar to what Craig Lutz just put down. Will it work for Patrick Emmerling? He moves into second, 17.728.
And the 20th car to come out onto the speedway right now is Van Hertzman. And car number 60, right on the middle of turn number 2 and working up on high, way up high in the back straightaway. Then down deep and going down to between turns number 3 and 4. Get some heat in those Hoosier tires, bringing it down off the corner. And Matt goes to the number 2 spot with a 17.726.
That is the fastest first lap, Joe,
yes,
of
you're
any
right.
car.
We're going to see what happens right now. Did he get a little bit quicker? Down in the short chute, bring it down out of turn number 4. And he goes to number 1 with a 17.559. 17.559.
Well, the story in time trials for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour doesn't look a great deal different than the times in practice. But it was Matt Hirschman who set in the number 1 spot, 17.559. Craig Lutz, second fastest, car number 46, with a 17.679. And no surprise at all, Patrick Emmerling would turn the third quickest lap, 17.728. But it's Justin Bonsignore, the current point leader, back in fourth, a guy to watch with 17.800. And Kyle Bonsignore would round out the top 5.
In the number 6 spot, Austin Beers. He came in with a 17.820. In the number 7 spot, it was Bobby Santos III aboard car number 3, 17.838. Then Ronnie Silk aboard car number 16. Next in line, he was the 8th quickest time with a 17.890. Trevor Catalano, 9th quick aboard car number 56, 17.902. Tommy Catalano rounding out the top 10 aboard car number 54. He went with a 17.932.
The remainder of the field, Tyler Ripkema is 11th fastest. Woody Pitcat is 12th, car number 82. Tyler Catalano, 13th fastest. Jacob Lutz, 14th. Andy Jankowiak, 15th fastest. Tim Conley, 16th. Andrew Kraus was 17th fastest, with Ken Heggie 18th over Bob Reese in the number 10 car, 19th, and Melissa Fifield to round out the field. Well, you're looking at the fast time setter, Matt Hirschman. They call him Moneybags Matt, and today might be another one of those big paydays here from the Oswego Speedway.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now we are about ready to go real racing here at the Oswego Speedway. We ask all of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are wearing a hat, please take it off at this time. Our national anthem singer tonight is Natalie Hollenbeck, a school counselor working with elementary students. She has had a love for singing her entire life, and she is here tonight to perform our national anthems. First of all, let us salute our great neighbor to the north with the Canadian national anthem. Here is Natalie Hollenbeck.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as on this Labor Day weekend we salute this great country of ours with our national anthem. Here is Natalie Hollenbeck.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
How about a great hand for Natalie Hollenbeck? Well, when we are ready to go racing here for the NASCAR Modified 150, we are going to ask the crowd to join us in giving the command to start your engines. We will give you a countdown, and when we get down to 1, everybody holler, "Gentlemen and ladies, start your engines."
the car many times more than it's going to be and
We're coming to you live from Oswego Speedway for the running of one of the big events of 2024, the Toyota Modified Classic 150. You were just looking at the shore, and most people on Labor Day, they'd be out on Lake Ontario with their boats, but not us. We're here to go racing. We'd rather race than anything else. Justin Bonsignor is 4 points back, and Ronnie Silk is the guy contending in second. He was a defending race winner. And what about Patrick Emberling? This guy won the last stop at Thompson. And a new face, or is it an old face? Bobby Santos in the familiar bowler car. But Matt Hirschman has been a rocket and the fastest car in the house. Those stories and more are putting to the test at the Steel Palace, home of true champions, right here from Oswego Speedway. The cars are staged on the inside of pit road, waiting for the command. tonight's presentation is about to begin in just a few short moments. Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Dodge, and alongside here at Broadcast Central, the gentleman that'll be a part of the presentation as well. And that, of course, is Joe Murata. Joe will be covering the action, and you're looking at the field of modifieds, 20 cars strong. What the story is here is earlier today, Mother Nature cursed us with some heavy, heavy rain. Right now,
ladies
we
and gentlemen,
go.
we want to give the command. We're going to count it down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They fire the engines down on pit road. The sound of the mighty modifieds, there's nothing like it. You talk about a facility with so much history, this is exactly just that. Going into today's event for the competition here, we look back into the record books. Brian Ross won the very first event of this type way back in 1988. He capped it off to do it again the following year. But that wasn't the only great stories that took place here, because in more modern times, the story changed and the competition became even more intense. Ronnie Silk has 3 wins. Justin Bonsignore has 2. Jake Johnson, who's not with us, vacating the number 3 ride to go back to school. He has 1 victory. Matt Hirschman also with 1. Austin Beers with 1. Patrick Emberling with 1. And Trevor Catalano. 10 starts, 1 driver has won 7, and the name is Hirschman. 67 Whelen Modified Tour drivers racing, of course, and they start to move away from the starting grid. Racing action is about ready to commence, as we are about ready to look at the starting lineup in just a moment. Joe Murata, the seasoned veteran driver, one of the absolute best broadcasters in the business. Joining me alongside, you're looking at car number 3, Bobby Santos III behind the wheel. Remember, he's driven the Tinio car and had tremendous success, car number 44. Next car is moving out of pit road, Tyler Ripkema, car number 32. The black automobile to the left of your screen. And of course, no one can doubt the credentials of car number 82. That, of course, is the Woodman, Woody Pitcat. As they move into correct order to get things scheduled and start up, we'll take a look at the starting lineup in just a moment. A very unique racetrack. What makes it unique? The outer walls are soft, not like soft barriers that you would find at any race facility in modern day times. These are perhaps the softest. They are made of styrofoam. And on the inside wall, there is metal, well, they call it boiler metal, and that surrounds the inside of the racetrack. You can get a wheel down underneath, but the story is not to get a wheel down underneath. The story is to stay in the groove, about half a lane up. So let's take a look at the starting lineup. The gentleman who turned the fastest time is the PD Motorsports machine. Car number 60 for Matt Hirschman from Northampton, Pennsylvania. Surprise, but no surprise. Craig Lutz will be starting in the outside of row number 1. We look at the second row in the competition. It's Patrick Emberling. Justin Bonsignore will be starting outside of row number 2. And then a look back at row number 3, Kyle Bonsignore. And then the young and talented Austin Beers after success at Lancaster Speedway. Bobby Santos shows it's no fluke. Car number 3 will move into the starting grid in the 7th starting spot. And Ronnie Silk, 4 points back in the point rundown. He will start back in position number 8. Then it's a pair of Catalanos. Trevor Catalano in 9th, Tommy Catalano in 10th. Just out of the top 10, drivers like Tyler Ripkema, along with Tyler Catalano. And of course, Andy Jankowiak and Andrew Kraus making up that 8th row of competition. Final row in the field, Melissa Fifield will pick up at the rear of the competition. You're looking at our field for tonight's Whelen Modified Tour spot, and there they are, 2,600-pound rocket sleds, the finest. And what have we seen so far in the competition this season? we'll take a look at who's done what and who has done what. At the start of the season, it was, of course, at New Smyrna Speedway. It was Ron Silk, the gentleman that was the big winner there. Then on to stop number 2 at Richmond. Justin Bonsignore showed a thing or two. And then the competition shifted to Thompson, and Silk was back in winning form. When they went to the high banks of Monadnock, it was Jake Johnson. Then on to Riverhead, where Silk was back and racing to the front. Matt Hirschman was the big dog at Seekonk Speedway. And at Loudon, Justin Bonsignore. At Monadnock, another first-time winner and a big popular victory, Trevor Catalano. And then we went on to the next spot, Lancaster and young Austin Beers. But on the last stop, it was car number 1, and that, of course, was Patrick Emmerling. The field was set and staged as they run here at the beautiful Oswego Speedway. This is the home of super modified racing. Joe Murata is alongside of me, and of course, he is the man that knows more about this racetrack than most. Joe, what makes this track so special, home of the super modifieds?
It is such a unique racetrack. Long straightaways, good turns, a little bit of banking in both the first and second turns, and also down in turns number 3 and 4. And where I always watch them, and they always come on real strong, is down in between turns number 3 and 4. So that's where you got to watch some racing and passing action. And of course, the straightaways are nice and long here. You get a lot of passing going between the straightaways off at turn 4 and going down into turn number 1. It's an action track. It should be a great race here tonight.
It certainly should, and there they are, 2 by 2. Warriors about ready to go to battle. There's no question about it. It's been a tough day here, but Jimmy Wilson, the entire NASCAR staff, and the management of Oswego Speedway did everything humanly possible to get us right now where we are for today's presentation. Matt Hirschman, no stranger to running at this racetrack. Car number 60, running to the inside. Outside, row number 1. It is another competitor that's looking to visit victory lane. He's been so close on so many times this season. That, of course, is Craig Lutz. Lutz is there in second. Patrick Emmerling makes up row number 2. And, of course, Justin Bonsignore. Final checking at NASCAR control, checking to make sure that conditions are ideal. This is a 150-lap race, the Toyota Modified Classic 150. Backstage, the Super Modifieds and the fans are here in full force. They love open-wheel racing, and they love the men and women of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Joe, there's row number 1 and the field. You can feel the ground start to shake. That's what we're looking for.
Oh, without a doubt, and the excitement is starting to build. You know, one of the things I noticed during the hot lap session, they were switching tires back and forth. They'd run maybe 3-4 laps, come in, pull those tires, and put another set of tires on. So definitely expect 1, maybe even 2 pit stops for these NASCAR Modifieds here tonight.
Well, the strategy, the competitors were told exactly what they can or cannot do in the competition here. Tire strategy and keeping your tire program aligned and ready is what this is all about. We are watching, of course, tonight's event, the Oswego, and it looks like we are just a few moments away from the start. Tonight's grand finale. From the starter stand, the indication, yellow flag is up in air one more time around. Big money Matt Hirschman in upstate New York and in Pennsylvania and wherever you go. He's the star of the Monaco Tri-Track Series as a multiple champion in all of that as well. But we're ready. And of course, in just a few moments, we'll get him fired back up. There's no odds-on favorite, Joe, in this one. We've got already winners. I talked about them for a few short moments, but we got other competitors that are very hungry, that want to get into victory lane, the prestige and the honor of this, the oldest division in NASCAR.
Well, I'm going to tell you, keep an eye on those Catalanos. They're back there about halfway back through the field, and they like to lead, they like to win. And that young guy, boy, keep your eyes on him as well. So,
Next time, we should be ready to fire them up. Pace truck at the front of the field. Spotters high atop the backstretch here. Hard to believe at this racetrack, today is asphalt. After the conclusion of this, the Classic weekend, it'll be turned over to Joe's favorite. And what's that, Joe?
I guess it's dirt.
And that is going to be the story. Asphalt racing about to be unleashed. Ladies and gentlemen, up on the edge of your seats in anticipation. Here they come, rumbling off turn number 4. And here are the stars of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour as we go green here at Oswego.
And the hammers are down, coming down into turn number 1. Everybody shuffling around and looking for racing space. Coming off that number 2 corner and down the back straightaway. A good start as they really squeeze down that back straightaway down into turn number 3. Coming out of turn number 4 now to complete lap number 1.
Take a look at what's happening here. Car number 3. That is the Bowler Racing Enterprises car. Bobby Santos III came out, had a very limited amount of practice. Santos is still working his magic, trying to get to the front of the field. Meanwhile, the competition is still starting to get strung out. They've worked their magic off the turn, back up front. Inside lane looked racy for a while. Silk is on the move, but he is still not there to contend.
Will Hirschman in the number 60 car. He has got that number 1 spot with the 46 running right there in the number 2 position. So they go at it coming off of turn number 2 and going down the back straightaway. The third place is the number 1 of Patrick Emmerling, and he is trying to close in. He'd like to get up to that number 1 spot real early here in this event as they bring it down in the front straightaway.
Currently, as we look at the battle, Patrick Emmerling, car number 1. He stepped out of line. He's running in the 3rd position. Meanwhile, it is still Lutz who's setting in position number 2. Lutz is a big factor as he works his magic further up in the field. Meanwhile, keep your eyes on the car that is setting back there in the 4th position. That is the number 51 machine of Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor starts the work over Patrick Emmerling. Directly behind him is Austin Beers. Nobody is stepping out of line already, but suddenly Emmerling is feeling the heat of car 51.
And Beers in that number 5 spot, holding on to that and trying to move in on Bonsignor for the number 4 position as they run down in between turns number 3 and 4. Coming off of turn 4 and down the front straightaway, Beers, he's right in that number 5 spot, and he is challenging. They're all right together. It's still anybody's race. No clear leader. Hirschman, though, up in the number 1 spot, and Hirschman leads him down in between turns number 3 and 4.
Well, the battle still rages between second on back. It is Lutz with car number 46, trying to keep a nice tight line to the bottom through the turns. Emmerling is there, runs in the tire tracks, then directly behind him, it is Bonsignor. We're looking further back in the field. Bottom of the top 10, Woody Pitcat, car number 82, has just won around the Catalano number 54 car. That's a battle, as we said, just out of the top 10 currently as we speak.
Beers still running back there in that number 5 spot aboard car number 64. He's trying to close in on the number 51 of Bonsignor, who is running in the number 4 spot. Bonsignor seems to be drifting up the racetrack when he comes out in turn number 2 and doing that just now as he goes down the back straightaway.
Jacob Lutz, car number 14. We had a good shot of him working his magic to get to the front of the fields of this event. Right now, we're looking at Tyler Ripkema, car number 32. There are literally 6 cars behind him. Catalano is there with the 56, then the second Catalano car. But right now, they're trying to move in on the inside of Tyler Ripkema. Ripkema still setting in that position as they come off the turn and head down into turn number 1. Still tight racing. The Catalano brothers are at it once again, and Jankowiak is right there in that neon green and white machine.
Yes, he is. But I've been watching the front row with Hirschman up there in the number 1 spot. Lutz riding right there in the number 2 spot. Lutz trying to reel him in as they go down that back straightaway. Lutz now high in the number 2 spot, trying to close in on Hirschman, but Hirschman seems to have everything going his way right now as he comes down and completes.
Well, it's not the story, Joe, for the lead right now. It's the story for third position. In the third position currently is Patrick Emmerling. Justin Bonsignor, the leader by 4 points in the point standings, setting back in the 4th spot. But he is being heavily worked over by the number 64 car of that young and talented Austin Beers. Beers setting back, waiting for the opportunity. Behind them is car number 22 for Kyle Bonsignor, and Ronnie Silk, believe it or not, has settled into the 7th position, with Santos back in 8th and Woody Pitcat rounding out the 9th spot with Tommy Catalano in 10th.
You know, I've been watching that number 7 spot. You're exactly right. He has been really closing in that position and trying to go to the outside. Now, everybody is staying down low, coming off the corners and down the straightaways, whether it be the front or the back straightaway, particularly in the back straightaway. But a couple of cars now are drifting up a little bit higher and trying to come down on, going down into turn number 3 to try to pick up a spot. Right now in a single file, 132 laps to go.
Look, there's no question as things are starting to settle in. It still appears that there is a pack of cars. You just looked at Silk. Silk looks to the inside. He's directly running in position number 7. Kyle Bonsignor directly in front of him. Bonsignor drifts up 1 lane. Now, moving to the bottom of the racetrack, Patrick Emmerling putting the pressure on Craig Lutz. Lutz in the 46 car. Emmerling is there. Can't do it. Look a little further back. All of a sudden, here comes Ron Silk. Silk moves in, takes over position number 6. He is starting to make his presence known.
I'm watching that battle with Emmerling, who is running back in the number 3 spot. He tries to get up high, always tries to get a run coming off of turn number 2. Just cannot complete it, but he is going to be a factor when we get about halfway through. Right now, Hirschman, way up there on the top side with Lutz in the number 2 position.
Meanwhile, good battle still going on as car number 16, Ron Silk, has moved into that 7th position. The strategy of the Silk team, Phil Moran said, we just want to pace ourselves in the early laps of competition. We're not sure on tire management or where on the tires itself. So we want to make sure we save enough for the end of the race. Meanwhile, it is Austin Beers who is really applying a ton of pressure to Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor continues to work his magic. Patrick Emmerling now to the inside. He had a shot at it for a minute, thought twice of it, and pulls back in the line. One move, whether it's low or high, and you step out of line, and 3 or 4 cars are going to pick up the positions.
Back there in the number 4 spot, Bonsignor, a Ford car number 51, holding on that spot. But Austin Beers right behind in car number 65, and he is trying to come up onto the outside as he comes through the corner. Right behind him is Ronnie Silk, and Ronnie stays right in the fast lane. Coming off the corner, Bonsignor running back there, 7th, Santos in the number 3 running back there, 8th, 9th is Woody Pitcat, and Tommy Catalano rounding out the top 10.
There's good racing still in that battle between Austin Beers with that number 64 car. That is the car that Sly Zabin, who used to be the crew chief on the championship Flamingo team, years back when drivers like Ryan Preece was dominant and championships of the Whelen Modified Tour. He's teamed up with Ron Newhouse, a former driver for the Irish Angel. Trouble now. We've got a ton of smoke down into turn number 1, hitting at a ton, and it appears that there is the engine lets go or something, and it is one of the Catalano cars.
54.
And very, very tough situation. Tommy Catalano in the Catalano Motorsports machine. You can see the line of fluid going down into turn number 1. And that's the safer barrier that we were talking about, the foam. And obviously something, Joe, let go on that race car because it had no place to go once it got on the fluid, the wheels on the fluid. It spun around and went in to the left rear of the number 54 machine. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yes.
Running for position down the front straightaway. Smoke erupts from the left bank.
The left side.
It becomes intense. He does a great job of trying to hold the car, and he ends up doing a 360 spin and backs in to the safer barrier and a tough break, and you can see that line of fluid. Look to the very right of your screen, and you will see that the Jankowiak car tried to avoid the entire situation, and Angie Jankowiak, an outstanding driver, a real talent in everything and any car he competes in. And he is like the old school. We talked about Richie Evans in the glory days. There's Tim Conley's race car. Ken Heggie, over 100 career starts. What a record all by itself. And there he is, out of the race car after such a wild ride. The Catalano family, this is an amazing story when you have an entire family racing, and not just on asphalt, but on dirt. And the side story in all of this, Joe, is every one of the Catalanos, including Mom, they all have tremendous amount of talent, and they are here every race, and they are showing their talent and their skills. This team will be back and stronger than ever. There's no question there.
The young ones seem to be getting stronger and stronger, too.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So there you're looking at the entire field, which is now stopped under a red flag situation that is created and, of course, that is caused by the situation that we have said. We talked earlier a little bit about who's been hot and who's been a big factor this season. There's one individual with 3 wins on the Whelen Modified Tour this year, and that is Ronnie Silk in the Phil Moran prepared race car. Justin Bonsignore has 2. Jake Johnson secured his first. That came at the high banks of Monadnock. And then Hirschman would win at Seekonk, as we said. Then Austin Beers at Lancaster, and Patrick Emmerling securing a victory, of course, competing at Thompson Speedway, with Trevor Catalano taking down a victory as well at the high banks. Now, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the action on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour right after this.
And we're back live, and of course we're red flagged right now as the Catalano car up on the hook going into the pit area. Track safety crew doing a tenacious job as always, and you can see where they started to lay the speedy dry down, right down underneath here in the front straightaway and all the way up into turn number 1. Well, once again, the caution is out, and the reason for the caution, obviously, for a blown engine and a car going in the wall, and that was the Catalano car going up into turn number 1. They're laying the speedy dry down right down in front, here in the front straightaway, all the way up into turn number 1. So a lot of oil came out of that car, and he got into the wall sideways, doing some pretty heavy damage.
You know, we just had a perfect shot of the extensive damage that was done. And that young driver had nowhere to go or nothing to do, because whatever dropped, whether it was an oil line or something in the engine itself, and when you see this much speedy dry, it usually, sadly, is the worst case of them all, and the engine has expired. He was out of the car. He is okay, thank goodness for that. And you saw them bring the car back down the pit road with extensive damage done on that as well. You know, Moneybags, Matt Hirschman is the leader of the event so far, and Hirschman has run here before, and he has had success here. But I think what makes it very interesting, Joe, is the fact that his dad also had success at this racetrack. So they say that Matt Hirschman's key ingredient is a notebook that he has with all that information on every racetrack he goes, where he goes, what the setup is, and what the adjustments he made. His father did the same thing. So can you imagine putting 2 generations of work, knowledge, and information into one race team? And that's what you're looking at as you look at car number 60. The car that's in second, the 46 car, very interesting story. This team broke up a couple seasons back, and then they decided to get back together. When they did, they are very consistent and very strong. They run up front. It is said by other teams that they perhaps, well, they're the rabbit chased by the dog. They're just too quick early in the race, and they don't know how to close the deal. That might be the case, but today looks like completely different strategy, because what Lutz has done is he has run with Hirschman but has not shown any real aggression. And let's go down to Jesse Punch with the driver that was involved in that altercation. Jesse?
And Tyler Catalano, early into the day there, after you made your way into the foam coming around turn 1, what happened from your perspective?
I came down the front straightaway, and I don't know, I looked for the corner, and oil went all over the place, and I had no control at that point, so I just tried to back it in the fence rather than stuff it in the fence.
So nothing you could have done differently there?
Nothing really to do other than pray.
And you're okay after that hitting the wall?
Absolutely. Perfectly fine.
Awesome. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely.
Jesse Punch with the gentleman, first class. We told you about the entire Catalano family. Look at the back of that race car. You can see some of the foam that did its job, And as you look at it, what's interesting, a lot of sheet metal is extensively damaged. But if you know anything about rub rails and modifieds, now look up front. There's where they're looking to see exactly if a line came off the car, or maybe something worse, a hole in the pan, or any of the above. But right now you can see that all of that damage, and as we said before, the crew taking a look up front, and where it all began is underneath the hood of that race car. It might be something as simple as a line dropping all the fuel. These are dry sump engines, and of course they carry a lot of oil, and once that oil is out on the racetrack, well, there's no more second guessing it, and that's what you're looking at exactly as we speak right now. Let's go back and take a look at who's moving up or who's staying in line. Patrick Emmerling is in third when we went to caution, and Justin Bonsignor, he's tested the waters on Emmerling several times. He's tried low and then moved to the outside, but has not been able to get the job done. Then Austin Beers, he's a youngster with a ton of talent, having a tremendous amount of success. Kyle Bonsignor has been working him over. Ronnie Silk is there in 7th. Bobby Santos is in 8th. Woody Pitcat is up to 9th. And Tommy Catalano with the 54 car was running in the 10th position. And there's JJ, the gentleman who's involved. Each one of their race cars on the Catalano team has different crew chiefs and different people that are involved, and asking questions about the engine, and what happened or what didn't happen is the answer. And whenever you're dealing with mechanical devices, you know the story, Joe. Anything can happen, and usually does.
And it does, yeah. I've been checking the times of the top 10 drivers, and of course, Matt Hirschman, on his last lap, he went in 18:079. Craig Lutz went in 18:110. But your third place running car, he went in 18:062. That's Patrick Emmerling, and he has been consistently the fastest car out on the speedway. So we're going to see some action up there with the top three. Fourth place, Justin Bonsignor. He on his last lap he went in 18:108. Austin Beers went in 18:097. So they're all right together. I mean, they're turning almost identical times. One may be a little bit quicker than the other. So obviously there's going to be a showdown.
There certainly is going to be a showdown. You can see already how things are starting to settle in. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more great racing action from Oswego Speedway for the running of the Classic and the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. We're back from the Oswego Speedway as the field of cars are staged. Cleanup still continues as the Titan is there to clean up the excessive amount of speedy dry that was needed, better known as oil dry, on the racetrack itself. In just a moment, Jimmy Wilson and the race director for the competition will tell them to fire the engines up. And we're possibly going to see some pit strategy, even though we are with 137 laps to go in this event of 150 circuits, brought to you by the Toyota organization for the presentation of the Toyota Modified Classic for 150 laps. We haven't even touched the surface or even scratched the surface in this event, as we are still under a delay as cleanup still continues, as in a few short moments we should be ready to fire them back up. You know, this, Joe, is a grand facility with so much history, and the history began when this racetrack, you're a veteran announcer and you know a lot of the history that happened here, but it wasn't always a 5/8 mile racetrack, now was it?
No, you can see the inside track over there, what we call the short track, and it was a little bit shorter track to begin with, and then obviously it was extended out until the full 5/8 mile that it exists today.
You know, a lot of our listeners and viewers on Flow might not be familiar with the Oswego Speedway, but one of the things that's the most amazing factor of all is the transition when they turn this racetrack after the traditional classic weekend and they turn it over from asphalt to dirt. And Joe, you were here for that action as well. Tell us what happens and what's in store when they're able to do that.
Well, before the sun went down, just off of turn number 2, you could see a great big huge pile of dirt or clay. And as of next week, you'll see them come in and they'll be laying down probably 2 to 3 foot of dirt all the way around this racetrack. I saw the very first one when they transitioned it over from asphalt to dirt, and same speedway, but whole different racetrack.
It certainly is. It's amazing. Over the years, I had the opportunity to come to this racetrack. The Caruso family were always very gracious to me and to others, and it looks like we're starting to move the field now. Safety vehicle picks up the field, and it looks like the yellow flag is waving from the starter stand. Those of you watching on Flow might not be familiar, but the starter is on the inside of the racetrack. and you're looking at the starter's stand with the yellow flag there. Most racetracks, as we're all familiar with, the starter's stand is to the outside. That is not the case here. And Joe, what's the reason for all of that?
That's the way it was designed. The flagger stand was designed on the inside. It's been that right from day number one. And when you're a regular racer here or a regular race fan here, you just get used to it being on the inside.
You know, as we came into the facility here today, we talked about it very, very briefly, but this is a beautiful area of the country, and of course it is near the Great Lakes.
Lake Ontario,
Lake
right
Ontario,
behind us.
right behind us. You can actually see it from Broadcast Central here during the daylight hours. And while most people were having a good time with their boats and enjoying Labor Day weekend, well, we're doing what we love best,
Racing.
Joe and I, and we're racing. Incidentally, Joe Koss is away on assignment. He'll be back, and of course, at our next stop on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And of course, we are now winding down the bigger speedways. We'll go to the short tracks, and there's a look at that beautiful water's edge and the calmness. And there's the boats. Most people are out on their boats enjoying it. Not me and Joe. We're here, and we are glad to be here with a lot of race fans that came out exclusively for this event. And there's the field, 2,600-pound rocket sleds, and already we've got a car heading down on pit road, and we're not sure what's the story for the 64 machine.
And quite a few others coming in right behind.
So Austin Beer's coming in. We're keeping our eyes on it. It looks like a right rear going on the number 64 car. And other cars in include Conley with the number 4 machine. Jesse Punch is down there where the action is on pit road. Jesse, what's it look like from where you are?
Well, right now they are just coming in, changing tires. Most of them are just changing the right rear, and I didn't see any of them adding fuel.
Okay, heading back out is the number 64 machine. Right rear tire is the story. Tire placement and tire wear is key. When you take a look, and you can perhaps see it from your living rooms at home, this is a very coarse asphalt. And there are a lot of parts of this asphalt where it has been actually paved and repaired. It's not a bad thing. It's the way that it's done for a track of this age.
Okay, the signal going from the starter with one more lap to go. The FX Carrera pace truck bring them down into turn number 1. They double up going off at turn number 2. And I believe we're going to be getting a start next time around. Green lights are showing. So the pace truck will be dropping down onto the inside out of harm's way when they come down off at turn number 4, I believe.
Looks like we're resetting the field. When we're at some racetracks, we say re-rack the field, because that's exactly what we're doing. 2x2 and side by side. There's no choose cone in the Whelen Modified Tour. You earn every position, every lap, double file restart. We are up to speed. Again, Hirschman to the advantage to the inside, but sneaking in to the number 2 position. No surprises here, Patrick Emerling. Emerling moves into second, car number 1, and here comes the battle of the points in 2024. It is Justin Monsignor hunted down by the number 16 machine, and that, of course, is Ronnie Silk.
Hirschman, the leader, going down into turn number 3, and we got another yellow out on the speedway. It's the number 18.
So the Heggie machine got a little bit crossed up and went around down in turn number 1. This will bring out caution number 2 in the event. Let's see if we're going to have any takers of individuals scheduled to come in. You look at timing and scoring, and it shows Matt Hirschman is the leader. Will it go back to the last completed scored lap, or was the entire field by? If that was the case, then Greg Lutz would go back into the number 2 position. Car number 60, of course, is still the leader, but the real story in this one is Patrick Emberling, because he was the guy that gained big and moved into second. And you can see timing and scoring is putting Patrick Emberling back into that number 2 spot. There is the fleet machine. Dale, the crew chief, on that race car. Patrick Emberling said, you know, we were so consistent. We were top 3 everywhere we went, but we always came a little bit shy. And it was always strange and unusual things. Some happened on pit road that gave us the, well, not the victory that we were hoping for. That all changed at Thompson Speedway when car number 1 not only was the number 1 car, but it was the fastest car and led every circuit in the competition there as well.
Well, apparently the track safety crew feels that there is still a little bit of oil down on the speedway. It's still slick going down into turn number 1. So a caution and coming back out, and the crew going back to work from right underneath here at our tower and going all the way into turn number 1.
Well, the safety services crew, from the Oswego Speedway and the Toyota truck, everybody gets back in position, and they'll be moving along. They had checked the racing surface, and it does not appear that the situation is well, any different perhaps than it was. The NASCAR Safety Services truck, which is the red Ford that you're looking at, they're coming out to check the racing surface themselves. They feel that everything is okay, and race control is talking with them at this particular time. So Ken Heggie's machine that brought out the caution number 2, spinning down in turn number 1. And turn number 1 has been the toughest spot of this racetrack, Joe, for the early laps in the competition here.
Well, that oil got laid down in there, and of course that just makes it slick.
So heading back down on pit road,
oh yeah,
we've got 3 cars coming in. Now, we believe these are not, we've got Tim Conley, who's already been in and out, Ken Heggie, who was the car that brought out the caution, and then we've got a 3rd car further down on pit road. So nobody up front is pitting or taking advantage of things here.
Right front tire being changed.
And then Conley's car is returning.
That's the 4 car.
And then the number 56 Catalano car for Trevor Catalano is heading back out, making a minor chassis adjustment as well. Still little preparation being made to the racing surface itself. And of course, the racing action, once it's completed here, goes on to one of the finest quarter miles in the country, the Riverhead Raceway. That'll be backed up with the event that'll be held, the 3rd stop that'll take place, and that of course is taking place at the high banks of Monadnock. We certainly hope that you'll be heading there for the JDV production event, the final event for that organization for the Whelen Modified Tour of 3. Then North Wilkesboro, Thompson Speedway again, and the crowning of the champions from the Martinsville Speedway. And what a season it has been. You're looking at the date, September 14th for Riverhead, the 21st, Monadnock Speedway, October 5th, North Wilkesboro, and then back to Thompson's Motorsports Park for the October World Series of great racing action. Chris Machad and Tom Mayberry putting together a spectacular event once again. And then it all comes to a head at Martinsville Speedway, which was a traditional favorite for a long, long time of modified drivers, owners, and race fans.
The blower coming down and blowing off some of the speedy dry or the dust going down there into turn number 1.
That's our Titan that is out there to make sure the racing surface is ideally suited. And apparently some of the crew chiefs and the spotters had a concern, and while we had this caution, the best way to take care of that concern was to check the situation and make every effort possible that conditions were ideal. Very unique racetrack because no two turns on this racetrack is exactly the same, is it, Joe?
No, it's not. It's a little bit different. Going down in turn number 1, a little shallow, going into the number 1 corner. Turn number 2, it's pretty wide coming off that corner because they can really get a run coming off that turn. And I always call it the tricky number 3 turn. Going down into turn number 3, they can use probably 2, maybe almost 3 lanes going into that number 3 turn. Then I call it the short shoot between turns number 3 and 4, where they pretty much straighten out the car and then cut in for the number 4 turn.
You know, when we were looking at time trials today, there was literally no car in the top 5 that ran the exact same line around this racetrack. Everyone was trying to find the quickest way possible, and that was not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination.
And by weather, it changes. You know, when you're super hot and the track is really sticky, going right down into turn number 3, right in that middle lane seems to be the quick way around, and then they let it drift up a little bit going into turn number 4. Each driver, each car has its own different pattern going into those corners, and that's what makes the Oswego Speedway so unique.
It certainly does, and as we said before, they did not have the normal amount of time today. This was an impound race, so they didn't have the amount of time due to weather conditions. So it was perhaps the quickest turnaround that we have had this season for a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event. So, 2x2 and side by side, they're ready. You're looking at row number 1. Joe, you've seen a lot of races at this racetrack. At most tracks, the preferred lane is the outside lane. Is that the story here?
It depends. Here again, it depends on the car. It depends on the track condition. Weather condition has a lot to do with it. If it's super hot and they're sticking, they go to the outside. Green light's coming on now. We're getting a good restart coming down into turn 1.
Well, Patrick Emily tested the water. It didn't work. All of a sudden, we just saw the number 16 car doing what we call a little bit of a stutter step. Gathered it back, held on. Side-by-side racing, there's Old Blue. To the left of your screen, car number 3, working into the 8th position, and that, of course, is the Bowler race car. Now on a move to the inside is Woody Pitcat. Pitcat leans on the number 3 car, but Santos is able to get away. Santos still setting in position number 8.
And Hirschman there in the number 1 spot. He is now trying to pull away from the rest of the pack, going down the back straightaway down to turn number 3. He goes into turn number 4, a little bit higher coming off that corner, gets a good bite, and he opens up a little bit better lead coming down the front straightaway.
You know, a car that we have to keep our eyes on is a car that is one of the cars that pitted and they changed the right rear. You're looking at it to the left of your screen. That is the 64 of Austin Beers. Beers is now coming back up through traffic. He has worked his way into the top 10. And right there with it, Jacob Lutz. Remember the race in Lancaster? Car number 14, well, it showed a lot of, well, the worst of the wear and battle scars. But when the end of the race came out, this young driver was right there and contending. Keep your eyes on that. Lutz is continuing to apply the pressure. That's Craig Lutz with that number 46 car. Woody Pitcat's got a pretty good run going in Danny Watts' race car as he's right there behind, believe it or not, that's his brother-in-law, Bobby Santos III. Santos back behind the wheel, as we said. He's driven just about everything, anything with open wheels. He is truly one of the great open wheel drivers in the Northeast region. Trouble now, stepping out of the line, little bit of an upset. Austin Beers trying to pick up yet another position, and he will work his way into the top 8, Joe. He's moving forward step by step, inch by inch.
You know what I'm watching is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Bonsignor back there in the number 4 spot. He wants to go racing. He is moving to the outside when he comes off the corners, and he tries to get a run coming down that back straightaway, trying to pick up a position or 2. Hirschman right now has got everything going his way in the 60 car. He is the leader. He is strong up there on the front side, and he just wants to run away as we have now completed lap number, we've got 100 to go. So we've used 50 of them.
Right now we're looking at Silk. Remember, he's 4 points behind the 51 machine. Previous, Ron Silk was leading. He's the defending race winner at this racetrack. Phil Moran knows how to create magic, and so doesn't the crew chief, of course, for car number 51, and that, of course, is another familiar name in the competition. And that, of course, continues to be the Stone machine, the man that creates more than stone when it comes to the running of the Phoenix number 51 car, as he's continuing to work over. Here comes Silk. Tries to make the move. Can't do it.
I'm just watching Silk right now, trying to come down on the inside, trying to go from that 5th spot to the 4th spot. Right now can't do it, but boy, that is a good race going on back there for the 4th and 5th position.
Good racing wherever you look in this one. Meanwhile, Silk continues. He knows the importance. That time, Monsignor's car got a little bit loose right in the apex and center of the turn. Watch it this time. Pretty good. Not the same. Silk looks at the outside, thinks twice of it. 3 cars now have moved in. Then it is Kyle Bonsignor directly behind them. The 22 machine is a big factor here as well. So this is the battle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th position. Silk is applying the heat, and now here's the white 64, Austin Beers, moving to the inside of Bobby Santos. Beers has moved in to position number 7. Remember, he was among the first cars to pit.
I am watching that battle for 2nd and 3rd right now with Emmerling and Lutz. Lutz goes to the outside on a couple of occasions, tries to get right up on the outside. Can't do it, has to pull back in the line, and then nearly loses that position. But he is a hard charger right now. Silk back there in the number 5 spot aboard car number 16. He is right there becoming a factor as well, going both inside and outside lanes.
Ron Silk pulled off a classic Silk move. He worked over Bonsignor lap after lap. These are 2 of the best modified drivers in the country. Nobody would question their credentials. Silk realizes he's got to get to the front of this class. Every position represents points. Only 4 points separate first from second. Bonsignor has that 4-point advantage in the point parade. Once Silk got around, and here comes Austin Beers. Austin Beers working over Kyle Bonsignor. Inside lane. Beers has got a car running on rails to the bottom and one of the only cars.
And we got yellow out on the speedway again.
3rd caution of the event, just as things were getting real heated. And we're looking at another one of the Catalano cars that perhaps was the culprit, as car number 56 looks to be heading down on pit road, possibly once they open up pit road. But to reset the field, the man that has led the majority of the laps, no lead changes whatsoever, it is Matt Hirschman. Patrick Emmerling moved around Craig Lutz to move in to take over 2nd. Lutz was in 3rd. Ron Silk up to 4. Justin Bonsignor back to 5. Austin Beers has come from the back of the field. He has been so strong, he pitted way back on lap number 31 and quickly moved back to the front of the field. Now, Kyle Bonsignor is still in 7th. Santos is 8th. Jacob Lutz is 9th. And Woody Pitcat rounds out our top 10 positions here. Single file still until they tell the field to double up.
And right now, I think you're going to see some pit stops. Are the leaders going to be coming in?
It sure looks it.
It sure does.
Here they come. Looks like perhaps the majority of the field is coming in. We'll keep our eyes on it. Jesse Punch is down there where the action is. We're looking at the number 60 of Matt Hirschman. Hirschman's car stops.
Yep. Yeah, you guys see the 60 of Matt Hirschman, who, as you mentioned, has dominated this race so far. That team taking tires. What's interesting about these pit stops is, as you mentioned, the leaders coming in now, they're at least on a 2-tire strategy. Some of these guys might try to do it in 3, but it's a bit of a guessing game with how the cautions fall. This one fell in a good spot for these teams, as you see the leaders make their way off of pit road, but we will expect to see them come down one more time this race.
You know, there's an old saying, Jesse, and it goes like this. You can gain more positions on pit road sometimes than you can on the racetrack. And if that is true, the guy that was able to come out quick was Ron Silk with car number 16. And of course, it was a 2-tire, as Jesse pointed out, and they changed both the rear tires on the number 60 car. Now, the Silk team, they did the same strategy, but they only went with 1 rear tire, and then, of course, they made a chassis and wedge adjustment. Amazing. Car number 16 is directly behind the number 1 car of Patrick Emmerling, and then directly behind Silk is, of course, the car that has led every circuit until this caution came out and pit strategy went into play. Looks like the lucky dog recipient in this one is the Tim Conley machine. Down on pit road, car number 14 is back in again. That's Jacob Lutz, and it appears that they, well, they're coming back out. They didn't make any adjustments. That's a car that Bobby Santos competed with also. We mentioned the 44 car, the Tinio race car, that Santos had tremendous amount of success in years past, and has always been a contender. Doug Colby took over that ride as well for a very short time for a couple of events, and then a young driver who made his mark by winning one of the biggest paydays at New Hampshire for a running of an event there, driving for Robbie Fuller, Chase Dowling. Chase Dowling sat behind the wheel, and one of the most unbelievable moves at New Hampshire, manages to hold on and to finish in the top 3 on the podium. They went to Thompson next, and Dowling was up front and among the quickest cars there as well. So, imagine being the Tinio race team. Who are you going to pick? Because there's not a bad choice in the house when you're looking at Bobby Santos, Doug Colby, or Chase Dowling. Right now, the choice is something different because Bonsignore has worked his way with great pit strategy to be the guy in the front row and in position number 1.
Truck bringing them down into turn number 3. They double up. Now, if there are no cautions from now till the end of the event, this is going to be quite a race.
Certainly is. Tim Conley, an outstanding athlete from, well, this area of the country. Came back to race. His wife wanted him to do it, and he's looking pretty strong and pretty racy. So Tim Conley is the brand new leader of the event. And meanwhile, 3 wide. They come down to the bottom of the racetrack. Bonsignore goes up the hill. Here comes Patrick Emmerling. Here comes Hirschman. Conley is in the mix as they come back to the line.
And Conley is in the number 1 spot right now. Bonsignore in the number 2 spot with Hirschman back there in the number 3 spot. Conley running back in the number 4 position. Emmerling is the leader, though, going down into turn off of turn 4.
Out in front, 3 cars run at the point. It is a great battle at the front of the class, but it is Patrick Emmerling setting the pace. But he's going to have to work for it because Justin Bonsignore and Matt Hirschman are running in his tire tracks. Look a little further back. Tim Conley turning some heads here today. Nice to see Conley running up front. And here comes Austin Beers working over Woody Pitcat. That's the battle for the 7th, 8th, and 9th position. Tyler Ripkema is there. Up the hill, Santos sneaks by. Here comes Tyler Ripkema. Ripkema moves into position number 8, and he's moving forward.
Well, the 51 up there, the number 1 of Emmerling up there in that number 1 spot, but Bonsignore to 51.
Trouble. All of a sudden, car 32. Contact is made, goes around. Fourth caution of the event. Andy Jankowiak spins to avoid, but Tyler Ripkema with the number 32 car. This is a very hard-working team. They are just shy of securing their first victory on the Whelen Modified Tour, but when they come out, they've got good equipment. He's a very good, consistent driver, and he literally, if we got a replay of that, he got tagged and was able to hold on. You're looking at it. Keep your eyes. Here comes Kyle Bonsignore's car to the inside. There's the contact. Little slap shot. We're not playing hockey here. This is racing. And Tyler does a good job keeping that car out of harm's way. And now we're going to take another look at it. There's the contact. And look at him literally hold on to that race car. And that's exactly what he did. And there's the end results there. He gets it fired back up, but he gets the I Done Good award for saving that race car. Joe, it could have been a lot more severe. There's no question about that.
And we are at the halfway point.
So the clock is ticking. 75 laps are in the record books. In this, the running of the Toyota Modified Classic 150 from Oswego Speedway. Joe Morardi, the voice of Oswego, with us on the call for this evening's presentation.
Laps are in. Will anybody be making a pit stop?
Well, I think the strategy in pit work
has been done.
Yes, for some, but not for all. So, single file still remaining, timing and scoring, checking on the order. And it looks like we're going to get things fired back up. So, in the first 75 laps, we had 3 cautions of the event. Down on pit road, Andrew Kraus just came in. Ken Heggie back there with the number 18 car again. And the Catalano machine. All 3 of those are quickly heading back out. Want to give a shout out to a gentleman who has been broadcasting here and throughout this area. These are 2 of the great dignitary of legendary broadcasters. Roy Silva, who we had the pleasure of talking with, and Joe Morardi, who stepped into the booth for Joe Koss for this evening's presentation. And Joe, we welcome and thank you very much. It's an honor to work with you. I know the prestige and all of the great race events, dirt and asphalt, that you covered over the years. You were truly, just like our buddy, you are truly, you and Roy, of course, are 2 of the very best in the business.
Well, thank you very much.
Side by side, 2 by 2. Get ready. Place your bets now. It's all out racing, modified style. They fire them up. Emmerling. Bonsignore up the hill. The door is open. Here comes Matt Hirschman. Hirschman running on rails to the bottom. Inside opens up. Door is shut. Emmerling is the leader. Back to turn number 1. Side by side, Joe for the bid for second.
Hirschman back there in the number 3 spot. And boy, is he knocking on the door inside and outside. Going down the back straightaway on the inside. He may have picked that spot up as the leader comes off at turn number 4 leading this lap. It's Bonsignore up there in the number 1 spot.
Meanwhile, Austin Beers, along with Woody Pitcat, have worked their way into the 5th and 6th position. Santos has dropped back to position number 7. Back up front, 5 cars, nose to tail, bumper to bumper. And leading this conga line is car number 1, Patrick Emmerling. the big winner on the last stop of the Whelen Modified Tour that was at Thompson, and of course at Lancaster. You remember it was Austin Beers.
Emmerling brings him on to turn number 4, and boy, he runs up high, coming down this front straightaway, and dives right in on the bottom part of turn number 1, off of turn number 2 now, and down the back straightaway. A good battle with the 60 car of Hirschman right there in that number 2 spot. Hirschman takes a deep look onto the inside, coming off of turn number 4, can't do it. 84 laps have been completed with the 51 of Bonsignor riding right there in the number 3 spot.
Keep your eyes a little bit further back in the field, Joe. We've got the number 16 car working its magic and working up through the field. Car number 16.
Ronnie Silk at number 16. And boy, he is charging. You're exactly right. He just went from the high side to the low side to try to pick off a couple of runners.
Strategy was different for them, and it cost them. But Silk is a man with a mission. And wherever he puts that silver 16, it seems to stick. Trouble now. It was a car on a shape, we believe that was the Kraus machine that got crossed up, and we've got another car that has made contact with the safer wall, and that was car number 3 for Bobby Santos III. Santos was able to drive away, but as you look down into the first turn area, you'll see that there is some of the styrofoam that literally he made contact with the car, but it does not appear. It's really quite amazing, to be honest with you. Think about the technology of safer barriers today, and a speedway like Oswego Speedway was way ahead of the curve, coming up with the styrofoam blocks that really, unless it's a hit at a ton, as the old saying goes, that you see what the situation can do. And you're looking at those safer blocks being put back into position, and believe it or not, those were hit by Bobby Santos. And if we get a replay and catch that, you'll see exactly, but yet he was able to continue. And when you looked at the 3 car, when we got the camera shot, it didn't even appear that it had any damage at all.
You're exactly right. He was running back in the number 10 position.
Here's the replay, Joe. Car number 3. Kyle Bonsignor is there. Little contact. 4-wheel drift and slide. Watch this. Tags those safer barriers.
And then bingo,
and
pulls
he
away.
drives away. Bobby Santos in the bowler machine, and it appears that it has no severe damage whatsoever. Down on pit road, Craig Lutz, the number 46 car. Let's see what they're going to do. Looks like right front and right rear. Now, this is a little different than what everybody else has been doing. Most of it were taking rear tires. Now, look at the 3 team. That's the bowler car of Santos, the car that just went into that 4-wheel drift. They're changing the right front, and it looks like the right rear as well. But this is a costly, a little bit longer stop for them. And the famed bowler number 3 comes down off the jacks. And if you think Bobby Santos is done, you're wrong, because he's going to work his magic and come right up, back up through the field in this one as well. So, single file is the formation. You're looking at the Santos machine. Now let's take a peek at row number 1. Car number 1, Patrick Emmerling, inside. Got a new dance partner on the outside.
Yeah.
And it's Matt Hirschman,
Yes, sir.
with the number 60. But look at row number 2. Justin Bonsignor, the point leader, and a kid that has passed more cars than anyone else in this field, and that is Austin Beers. What do I mean by that? He pitted back on lap number 31 and has come from the back of the field up to the top 4. Now, his dad, Eric Beers, had some laps at this racetrack. Legendary family, 3 generations of the Beers, and if the apple didn't fall far from the tree, when you're looking at Austin Beers, because he is A perfect example of that old saying. Green flag is out. And tucking it in. Hirschman moves into second. Bonsignor doesn't like it. He tries to stick his car to the inside. It doesn't work. Side-by-side battle. That orange car to the left of your screen is Woody Pitkat. And Woody Pitkat has moved into the top 6. But back up front, Emmerling. Here comes Hirschman. Trying to do it. The door closes. Deep into turn number 1, the story is still the same. But here comes Silk. Silk is picking them off, and Ron Silk, car number 16, quickly moves into position number 7.
Wow, he really took that move and went right in there for that number 7 spot. He's got a long way to go, but he is in a great position. And if I'm not mistaken, he took on 2 new tires on that last pit stop. So he is in a real good position to try to get to the front.
Car number 14 also for Jacob Lutz is moving forward. He just made a move to get around Woody Pitkat, and that puts him up in the top 6 as well. Pitkat drops back 1 position with car 82. Back to the front of the class. Still going on. 3rd position is still Justin Bonsignor. Back up front, Patrick Emmerling. Matt Hirschman is being very patient, but he is trying to work his strategy, and it almost appears that coming off the turns, the 1 car gets a better bite and pulls away by about a car length and a half. There it is right there. Hirschman tries to reel him in at the other end, and the margin between 1st and 2nd is a little over a 10th. So that's like blink twice, and you now know the magical formula.
But Patrick Emmerling in the number 1 car is moving very rapidly down those straightaways and tries to open up a bigger lead as we are approaching lap number 99 this time around. So we're almost 2/3 of the way into the event.
If anybody's been saving anything, it's going to come in the final 25. We are just passing, or about to pass, the point, perhaps they would call it, of no return. Looking further back into the field. 22, Kyle Bonsignor. Where is Kyle Bonsignor running?
In number 5.
Yes, he is. And Austin Beers is still in the 4th position. Kyle doing a really good job as well. The big mover and shaker is, no question about it, car number 16. Ronnie Silk is in a rhythm and a zone. This is one of the best modified drivers. Fact is, anyone in the top 10 in this race can hang their hat on that title. Here comes Silk. Nice move to the inside. 22, Kyle Bonsignor. Going, gone.
He is solid in there into that number 2 spot.
Working his magic. Ron Silk coming to the front.
Ronnie's actually turned a little bit quicker laps as your leader went a 17.898 and Ronnie was down there with a 17.9, so a little bit slower on that last lap, but he has cleared the traffic and he's got a clear straightaway in front of him.
Ronnie Silk is the quickest car in the racetrack. He's setting back in position number 5. He continues to reel in. Directly behind him, running in his tire tracks, is Kyle Bonsignor. Bonsignor in a car prepared by Cam McDermott, whose dad helps prepare Woody Pitkat's car. And several other cars the McDermott family does as well.
Emmerling, your leader, is turning some very consistent laps. He's in the 17.8, finishes lap after lap, turning almost identical times. So it's going to be tough to run him down and try to go by him.
But you don't know what's in the mind of the master, and that master is Matt Hirschman, setting in the number 2 position.
He is solid right there in that number 2 spot. He isn't gaining any ground, but he's not losing any ground either, so we're just going to have to sit back and watch him.
Justin Bonsignor. He said, I don't run for points, I run to win races. And when you win races, the points will come. The Phoenix communications machine is communicating quite well, setting in the 3rd spot, but just 2 positions behind.
Ronnie Silk still back there in the number 5 spot,
Yep.
very solid in that number 5 position. Drives a steady lane going down straightaways into the corner. So he is right tight, right going good in that number 5 spot. He is probably going to be a factor when it comes right down to the checkered flag.
If you were a betting individual, you perhaps would put your money on the number 16 car of Silk.
You know, I was thinking the same doggone thing.
He is a guy that has passed more cars again. And the man in front of him, Austin Beers, he is another individual that has done the same type of a situation. He pitted early, different strategy and different line. And now you can see Silk is moving in each and every circuit. Watch the Austin Beers car. There's the Achilles heel. Now watch what Silk does. Silk can reel him in.
And then he backs out a bit.
Yep, and right there, he steps back on the gas. He gets on the gas quicker, but he doesn't have enough. But he is moving in striking distance to Austin Beers.
He is closing right in, going down into the corners. Coming off the turn, runs him right down again. I think he's just waiting a few laps, and then he's going to be making that move.
They continue to work their magic. And the story that we're watching is Austin Beers being pressured by Ron Silk. Silk.
Ron is right there on the rear bumper a couple of times. As he waits
And
for-
it's amazing. You go down into turn number 1, and then Beers starts to pull away. Now watch.
He did pull
Silk
away that
moves
time.
in, and he's right there. Silk can run a tighter apex of the turn on the bottom.
If you watch Beers in the corner, he's got a little bit of a push exiting turn number 4.
And that push could cost him. Remember, what's on the mind of Ronnie Silk? He has to stay within striking distance of Bonsignor, because when this event started, there were 4 points between first and second. Every position represents 2. Back up front,
Emmerling way up there on the front side. And
Hirschman still there. There's your leader. And look at the margin between first and second.
a good lead.
Andy Jankowiak on the bottom.
And a little bit of traffic right now. He handles it to the outside.
And working in second is Matt Hirschman. Margin between first and second is about the same. Here's another good battle between Tommy Catalano and Jacob Lutz. Now, Tommy Catalano, this kid's really come into his own in 2024. And as we said, at Lancaster, the 14 car was a survivor because there were times when he struggled, but at the end, he was right there as a factor in the black number 14 machine.
Hirschman is just holding his own back there in the number 2 spot. I think he's waiting for a few laps to count down, and then he could be making a charge.
It appears that Silk continues to apply the heat as now they come up on the Jankowiak machine. And that kind of works to the advantage, not kind of, it does
Yes.
work to the advantage of Austin Beers. So all the momentum and the time that Silk had gained is lost as they come up through traffic in a lapped automobile. And look at the effects of that by about, well, 2 car lengths. Just 5 laps ago, it was less than a car length.
And we're getting down to nitty-gritty time right now.
Less than 50 laps remaining in this event.
Actually, this time around, next time around will be 25 to go.
Yes, the countdown continues. And still right there, all of a sudden, Matt Hirschman. And now Justin Bonsignor comes up on Santos, which is lap traffic, believe it or not.
That's hard to believe.
And Santos is trying to work around the Catalano machine. Those two cars are battling for position, and that is not what Bonsignor needed. Whoa, and the Bonsignor machine literally went into four-wheel drift, and now Bonsignor is able to get by Santos, and his next target becomes Catalano, about to go.
Catalano's in that number 13 position.
Yep. So now, Patrick Emmerling, still the leader of the pack.
And this next time around, when they come across the stripe, it'll be 20 laps to go.
Countdown, ticking away, the laps continue to come down.
Hirschman's still right there in that number 2 spot. Bonsignor running back there third. Beers is fourth and Silk is fifth.
Patrick Emmerling in search of his second win on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour in 2024. Matt Hirschman, he's been here and won before. Justin Bonsignor, Austin Beers, the youngster, and Ronnie Silk, a defending race winner. You gotta give Silk credit. He has raced full throttle and up on the wheel in each and every circuit. As things start to settle in, and that battle continues lap after lap.
Yes, it does. Bonsignor still back there, 6th. Catalano, 7th. Lutz is 8th. But Emmerling setting the pace, and he's going to be tough to catch.
Patrick Emmerling, original leader of the event. You're looking at that battle that has been going on lap after lap. But there is the leader, and the margin is 6/10. Patrick Emmerling over Matt Hirschman. Now Emmerling in traffic goes underneath Woody Pitcat. Pitcat is running in the 11th position. Hirschman sneaks by as well. We're coming down to the closer in this one. Hirschman doesn't seem to have anything for Patrick Emmerling. And Justin Bonsignor, he's running in third, perhaps looking at points. Austin Beers in fourth, and Ronnie Silk has been working hard. And you can see the 51 car. He is running that car to its full potential. Ryan Stone preparing the car. And there is Austin Beers trying again, but he just can't get there for Ronnie Silk. You're looking at the battle for the 4th and 5th position. Silk can get close, but not able to close that door.
I thought he was going to be able to get a run on him, but we're going to go down in less than 10 laps to go. Emerling actually getting stronger.
Well, oh! Silk gets a wheel down under. Ron Silk
We've been waiting for
pulls
that.
off the move, perhaps, of the event. Rim rides to the bottom.
Yep.
To the outside, Beers sways to the left and sways to the right. Lap traffic up the hill goes Beers. Ron Silk will move in and take over position number 4.
We've been waiting for that for about the last 25 laps.
Silk continues to make his presence known. And Justin Bonsignore. Remember, the point battle and why it's so important for Silk. Each and every one of these cars he passes and positions to get closer to Justin Bonsignore could be a determining factor in the title for 2024.
Less than 5 laps to go. Less than 5 to go.
The high five has been given. And Silk working his way around lap traffic, Tim Conley. While the leader, Patrick Emerling, is in a zone of his own at the front of the field. At this point, Ron Silk and his team are wishing that a caution would become a factor. As Emerling has driven a flawless race, Silk goes around lap traffic again. In Hunt, 2 laps to go. Final 2 circuit. You're looking at the Fleet Machine, an LFR chassis race car. Car number 1, Patrick Emerling gets the white flag. Let's go with Patrick Emerling. Car number 1 for the final circuit, deep into turn number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, off turn number 4, Patrick Emerling has done it. He will take down the victory here at Oswego Speedway. Matt Hirschman will finish in the runner-up position. Rounding out the top 5, Justin Bonsignore in 3rd. Ronnie Silk to finish in 4th. Austin Beers unofficially for 5. Jacob Lutz for 6. Tommy Catalano for 7th. Kyle Bonsignore for 8th. Craig Lutz to finish in 9th. And Tyler Ripka will round out the top 10. He came and he saw and he conquered. After a victory at Thompson, and there is the ecstatic crew that are there to congratulate each other on the story of their car being in the winner's circle not once in 2024, but twice, and not far from home territory at that. And of course, Matt Hirschman, the early leader of the event, to finish in the runner-up spot, and then Justin Bonsignore, showing that points are keys, and sometimes, even if you don't have the best race car, but if you make it to the end and finish on the podium, it perhaps was the most important move of the entire race to be among the podium finishers. We'll go down to Jesse Punch and meet and greet tonight's winner, now becoming a familiar name, Patrick Emerling. So, there is the crew chief down there to congratulate the driver. And there is Jesse Punch, going to be moving in just a few moments to meet and greet Patrick Emerling, getting out of the race car. And let's go down to Jesse Punch. Jesse?
Here he is, your winner tonight, Patrick Emerling, for the 2nd race in a row. Gets it done here in that number 1 car. This is his first season with this team, and he brought them their first win, as I mentioned, just last race. So back-to-back wins is huge, Patrick. Congratulations. You knew that obviously a very exciting pit right down here. Take me through those final laps. What's going through your mind?
Oh, man, just we didn't need a caution there. Yeah, I mean, I knew, the 60 was really, really fast. He's really, really fast here, super hard to beat. And, we just, the team had a really solid pit stop, and we did a little dicing on that start there to get us the lead. And then, we had the car. Fleetworks #1 team supplied another incredible car. And, I'd like to thank everyone involved, Rich, Dal, and, my family, and this whole team here. They're wonderful, and we were just we were kind of building momentum. We're a first-year team. We were building momentum, and absolutely incredible. And and another thing too, we did in the series here. There was some gentlemen pass away, Jason and Evan Canfield. Let's pray for them. And this is incredible one with this #1 team, and I'd like to thank everyone involved. This is absolutely incredible. We had another awesome car, and we'll get ready for the next one.
Well, real quick, you mentioned momentum building. This is your second win with this team, second week in a row. After last win, you guys jumped to third in the points. Is this team making a run for this championship potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would be close to the lead. We had one hiccup this year at Richmond and pinned us back there, and anything can happen though. And we're coming on strong here as a team, and we just we're showing up with incredible race cars week in and week out, and we just got to continue doing what we're doing and try to dominate these races like this, and so we got to do.
That's Patrick Emmerling, your winner here tonight at Oswego Speedway, bringing it home once again to this brand new #1 team.
Well, we've see an ecstatic winner in tonight's event, but next our attention's going to be heading over to an individual that finished in the #2 spot, had a great lead early in the competition, and you have to wonder if he had anything as the final laps of the event came down to the finish. Jessie Punch is working her way over to Matt Hirschman, who finished in the #2 position. As now Jessie moves over, and Jessie is there with Matt Hirschman.
Matt Hirschman bringing it home, runner-up tonight. Matt, talk me through your day, pit stop strategy, how it fell from your seat.
I mean, it was a real good day. The only place we got past all day was in the pits, so we lost a few there. But the one and us were just so basically close to identical in lap times. There were times where he was a few hundredths better and he opened up a little lead, and there were times where I was a few hundredths better and could close, but not even separated by a tenth. You're talking hundredths. So it was just those two cars were just that close. So we had the advantage early being out front. He had the advantage after halfway being out front. So that's always going to help, being out front in clean air. But for us, if you're running for points, it's a pretty good night or whatever, but we're not. We're really just trying to get some wins, and we got one earlier this year at Seekonk, and, we had a pretty damn good car today that you want to capitalize on when you have a car as good as this was, but they equally had a good car as well. So congrats to them. They came out on top, and we definitely had a strong second, but we definitely, first or better.
That's your second place finisher here at Oswego, Matt Hirschman.
Interestingly enough, pretty important message there. Second is okay, but first is better. And of course, Matt Hirschman has had his share of firsts. There's no question about that. Now, Jessie will be moving on to the man who is still, running in the thick of things. Started with a 4-point advantage, Jessie, going into this event. And let's talk to him and find out his strategy as Jessie's down there with Justin Bonsignore.
Third place tonight for Justin Bonsignore. Justin, those final laps there, you only made one pit stop, and then you've got a hard-charging Ron Silk on your bumper who did make 2 pit stops. So talk about those final laps. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, Grice had a great pit stop, got us out of the lead, and unfortunately for us, guys stayed out on old tires and crept into the box and just kind of shuffled us out there, and Patrick got the lead. And I think if I could have got the lead, maybe we could have had the track position just to hold them off. Our car was really good, the last 25 laps or so, but, starting running back in a little bit, and lap cars just really held me up for about 2 laps, which is kind of unfortunate, especially a past champion of the series. But that's part of it, and I just lost so much track position after that, and that was kind of it. So all in all, a good night. Would have liked to have one more shot in the pits. Maybe we could have got out in the lead, but we'll take it. It's a good night for us. Just want to thank Phoenix Communications, Clearcom IT Solutions, for your race cars, M3 Technologies, Robert Yates Engines, the whole crew. These are tough to get up here to these Western New York races, and everybody did a great job. Just want to thank NASCAR and Flo for getting us in today, and we can all go home and have a good Labor Day weekend.
That's Justin Bonsignor, your points leader. Gets it done. 3rd place tonight.
Well, Jesse, we've got 3 of the very best in modified racing that you've just interviewed. Tonight's winner, 2nd victory for Patrick Emmerling on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Now we're going to be moving on to our next stop, which is not going to be a big 5/8 mile racetrack. We'll be moving on to the Bull Rings of Riverhead, Monadnock, and the High Banks, then on to North Wilkesboro and Thompson Speedway and the Martinsville Speedway for the final stop. You're watching on Flow Racing, the final laps early in the competition. Hitting at a ton, it was a Catalano. But when the race came down to the wire, the wild slide of the night, and he was safe, was Bobby Santos. Back up front, Hirschman led the opening laps, but at the checker, it was Patrick Emmerling. The crew was happy, and the event goes into the record books. 2 wins